Welcome. What is up? Welcome to the Mixer. I am your host RC. I'm joined by my co-host here, Jeff. It's been a while, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to be back.
Sweet. Yeah, we are back. Had a lot going on. A lot of other focuses, so wasn't able to record. Basically, all my free time was built reestablishing things, and then Max Verstappen winning the driver championship after some bullshit maybe broke my brain a little bit. Uh, so I mean that didn't really happen, but you know what I mean.
I do.
But we are back. We are the Mixer. Do not forget to like and subscribe to us on Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube. Should be available anywhere you download podcasts. It is the Mixer podcast. Yeah, I mean, right off the top, before we get anything, you want to say anything, Jeff?
Not really. Glad to be back. Ready for Formula One season.
Yeah,
Especially without baseball. Uh, really gonna use that to fill the void.
rip. Yeah, rest in peace. I've had to, dude. I have no freaking time for all the the daily updates. Like both sides are discussing the terms of the new contract. It's like, yeah, no shit, they are. I mean, that's what they should be doing. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I actually muted MLB, MLBPA, baseball, and Padres from my Twitter feed for the next 30 days. I don't care. I don't care. The season should be 60 games. I mean, I feel like we're revisiting our origins, Jeff. Um, the world is in chaos. Things are getting canceled, and the MLB is on its way to a 60 game season. It's like nothing ever
Yeah.
changed.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean that's where I'm at, but super hyped for the Formula One season. The cars look freaking fantastic. We'll get more into F1 after we touch on the NFL, but I did want to say in case I'm planning on posting like an announcement clip as well, but we're going to be doing a binge watch of Drive to Survive, which premieres here in a few days on March 11th. So, going to be an episode by episode companion guide. And yeah, just going to discuss what unfolded in the episode, what maybe was left out, the big moments, maybe stuff that we learned too, stuff that maybe we forgot about. Hopefully, Jeff will be able to join for some of those, and if not, a wrap up episode at the end. At the very least, gonna really try to grind through it as fast as we can. So yeah, super excited for that. The Drive to Survive watch. Let's get into the meat on the bone here. NFL. So I mean, this is my second year as a lifelong Bengals fan, and wouldn't you know it, they get to the Super Bowl with Joe Burrow, and the Super Bowl was not a great game. It was okay. I mean, it was like I don't know. It seemed like both coaches were kind of coaching scared. I'm not a McVay fan. I never have been, and nothing would have made me happier than the Rams losing in the Rams' house at the Super Bowl to the Cincinnati Bengals, who were out there trying to do their best for Harambe. But I mean, the Rams were able to eke it out, and the darkest timeline continues. Jeff, what were your thoughts on the Super Bowl? Did you enjoy it? I mean, we didn't really record after the championship game. I don't think so. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess what are your thoughts on the wrap up of the NFL season?
Yeah. I think that I fully enjoyed the Rams winning. We had a
Oh,
futures bet
yeah.
on it for the Rams to win the Super Bowl. I think it was like $150, so we brought back. It was like 200 or 2,600. So that was kind of nice. The Rams are like the one team that Sam and I agree on. So we are a Rams house. Um, if we're rooting for a team together, she's a Packer fan. I'm a lifelong Browns fan. So, it's nice that the Rams are one thing we can agree on. As a huge Odell fan, it was extremely bittersweet, the Super Bowl as well. Started off balling and then tears his ACL. Really sad, but glad he got his ring. And glad Aaron Donald got a ring. The
Yeah,
Rams.
it's really nice to see a diva wide receiver get a ring for a change. I mean,
Hey, it's better than these random diva quarterbacks getting 7 of them.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
But I think the Bengals are set up well for the future. Although, I think that it's irresponsible to think that they're headed back to even the AFC Championship game, next year, in the next few years, because while they might, uh, they still have to deal with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, who had the worst injury luck of an NFL team this year. And then they also have Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, and now Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, all in the AFC. Bengals may not make it back next year, and I say that as someone who enjoys watching them play. I know you and I got into it a little bit about Jamar Chase because I'm a huge fan there. I love all the diva wide receivers, if you can't tell. Um, but yeah, I
Chase
think
doesn't give off diva vibes yet, does he?
I mean all wide receivers are divas. I'm sure you've seen the tweet about what they all tweet out. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, super happy that the Rams won in that context. Although I think the Rams are in better position to return next year, just because I think the competition is less in the NFC currently. Um, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was kind of a fitting end to the NFL season, and yeah, that's all I really got on that.
I didn't win any bets for down the stretch. I mean, I felt like a freaking genius because I bet Burrow to win Super Bowl MVP when it was the conference championship round because I was like, well, if I mean, either way, I knew that the Bengals were going to be the underdogs, but I mean, they had been pulling off upsets, and I could just see. Anyway, the odds were good. I think it was like plus 1,500 or something, and
Yeah.
I was like, well, if I'm going to put a bet, I'll put a bet now. And then I hedged by betting Mahomes to win the
Okay.
MVP too. He was like plus 350 or something in the conference game, or maybe plus 300 or something, because they still had no guarantee the Chiefs were going to make the Super Bowl, which they ended up not, obviously.
Right.
And so the Bengals won the conference championship, and I was like, oh heck yes, because it was going to be like $800 payout or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I had that writing on the game, and but I mean, it didn't sting too bad when it didn't play out. I had a bunch of underdog parlays, and I mean, the narrative that I was kind of betting on, I don't know. I thought that the teams were just gonna go all out and go for it because I mean, Rams house and Bengals nothing left to lose, and they both played conservative. I mean, the defenses did their thing, but yeah, the script just didn't go to what I thought it was. So yeah, didn't add any zeros to my to my bankroll,
It happens.
unfortunately. But I mean, yeah, that's just how it breaks. We have free agency going on a little bit. Russ going to the Broncos. We got the Chargers bringing back Big Mike Williams.
Aaron
Um,
Rodgers getting the biggest contract in
yeah,
history.
well, supposedly. I mean, I don't know what's going on with that. That's kind kind of breaking now. I think Rodgers tweeted something that he is coming back to the Packers, but the contract hasn't been signed and the terms of the deal are not what's being reported. So I mean, whatever, dude. Yeah, just wake me up when you're done.
Yeah.
But yeah, the pieces are falling into place. Um, Rookies are running faster than ever at the combine, which all the capital J's are upset because it's leaving Indianapolis. Like Indianapolis is some freaking mecca of of sports conventions. I don't know if you've heard this, Jeff, but everything's like central. So the capital J's don't have to get taxis or anything. Like everything's just one stop shop. You can get their steaks, get their freaking beers, and watch dudes in their underwear run around in the underwear Olympics. So capital J's are going to be really upset to go someplace like Vegas
I
or
will say,
Dallas or or freaking LA because
in
Indy's where it's at because they don't have to walk as fucking far.
in their defense, when you're talking about comparing prospects year after year after year, it does help having it in one place because the field doesn't really change. The setting is the same all the time. So when, someone runs a 4.3 in Indy and then next year someone runs a 4.3, they're likely the same, but I'm sure there will be some extra work for the data analysts and stuff out there to
And
either
fuck them nerds.
confirm or deny that.
Freaking keyboard warriors.
I'm just
Um,
saying.
no, I hear you. I didn't think about that. As a control having a field, they should have a combine field that they ship around, and then that way they can do those montages. The deconstruction reconstruction montages when there's like
There you go.
NBA team that's in the playoffs and their NHL team is too, and then they show like, oh, the crew was able to do this in 8 hours or something, and then they
Yep.
could just show that they could have a guy like that they do for the Stanley Cup that just is the watcher, but it'll be of the field. I don't know. Just for as a control group, and they can just like lay it over top of whatever sods there. I mean, they got the money.
They definitely do.
They'll create jobs, I'm sure. And I mean, in this economy, anything you can pretty much get anything passed if you just say it creates jobs.
Except
That
for renewable energy sources.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, nobody gives a fuck about those jobs. Um, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I watched 0% of the combine, but I just know dudes were running faster than ever. Um, I have a theory as to why they're doing that. I think that when they were off for college because of COVID in the year before. They were resting their bodies and they were able to recover maybe for the first time ever. Maybe they were doing some supplements that they may have not otherwise been doing. I've heard people say like, "Oh, maybe Indy just made they like brought in one of the hashes by 6 inches or something, just so they can, go out on a high note." But
Oh yeah. They also
anyway,
changed the schedule around this year. Um,
oh, it was like
they
prime
like
time, right?
Well, no, not just that, but like the order they did stuff.
Yeah.
Because if the wide receivers had significantly slower, like 3 cone and stuff like that,
Huh.
than they have in the past, and none of the running backs actually did the on-field drills, I think, or at least they didn't do the 3 cone. And a lot of people suspect it's because instead of doing the drills before the position drills, they did the drills after the position drills,
Mm.
even though they ran the 40 beforehand. So there's a lot of that going on too. That like they switch things around, so like guys either sat out or may have tested worse than they probably should have.
Gotcha. That's interesting. Things that freaking GMs will not consider at all, but more pieces to the puzzle. So yeah, I mean, we got football. I mean, football's year round. There's always going to be shit to talk about, like Calvin Ridley not having a gambling problem and wagering $1,500 that's ended up costing him 11 milli because he's suspended for next season. So
Yeah.
thoughts and prayers to him. But let's get into it. Formula One is going to be back. When? Not this weekend. Maybe the next weekend.
Thursday,
Thursday. This Thursday. There is
Bahrain
the
testing, and then next
oh
weekend's the
testing.
race.
Okay, sweet. Um, if you haven't seen the new cars, check them out. They look awesome. I mean, I was worried that the regulations were not going to allow much variance in the design, but clearly the teams have figured out their ways around it. You know, we got some different nose designs. There's definitely some variances on the teams with the ground effects that you can't really see as much with the side pods for sure. Ferrari has some crazy side pods. Aston Martin has an interesting kind of wide solution, and Red Bulls is quite interesting as well. The team liveries look great. Ferrari, I mean, is the best looking Formula One car I maybe have ever seen.
Yeah,
Uh,
that thing
Mercedes
looks
went
nice.
Mercedes went back to silver. The McLaren's got glow in the dark trim. Yeah, and then you have Alpine that just like copy pasted and threw on some pink. So, um, yeah, I'm really excited. We have new drivers. We have the HAAS Contravassy. Um, yeah, but I mean, we should probably talk about it. Verstappen winning on that bullshit that happened in Abu Dhabi. There was the um, who was it that spun out? Was it the
Latifi
Williams
went into
Latifi?
the wall,
Yeah. Oh man, with like 5 laps, 4 laps to
something like
go,
that.
Hamilton was like 10 seconds clear of Verstappen. Gonna just had to bring it home.
Hmm.
And then I mean the main. We'll recap it here. The main controversy was there was lap traffic between Hamilton and Verstappen. The track, they were trying to scramble to get the track clear so that they can finish the race under green flag. The way that the rules are written is the FIA can decide to wave by the back markers, the lapped cars that are kind of shuffled in between. However, that's supposed to apply to the full field. I think there was only 2 drivers between Hamilton and Verstappen. Um, and anywho, so they like what they said they weren't going to do a wave by, and then Christian Horner got on the got on the on the radio, asked the director like this is ridiculous, blah blah blah, and Verstappen said, "Oh, of course. Well, that doesn't shock me. Like playing the fucking victim." And it turns out they give him the wave by. Verstappen dove in for new tires once the caution dropped because he had nothing to lose, and so he was on
Well,
fresh rubber. And anyway, so it went green. Hamilton was tilted because it just wasn't fair. And yeah, I mean, it only took a few corners. Verstappen got around him, ends up winning the title on a last lap pass. I mean, it doesn't get much more dramatic than that. Um, Latifi is the new Timo Glock, and Red Bull wins the drivers' championship. I don't think they won the constructors.
they
Um,
did not.
yeah, that was a bet I made that didn't pay off. So, Super Max, is this still under investigation, or is he the official champion? I mean, that's another thing F1 did for fun.
Um,
Was
he was the official champ once Mercedes dropped their lawsuit. I mean, he was like
Mm-hmm.
technically the official champ before that, but then when Mercedes decided not to pursue it,
Mm-hmm.
he was like officially official, because the FIA was never going to reverse that. They were just going to make changes affecting the future, which they did.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, that race, I will say one comment or one thing that I think is funny is, Perez had a lot of memes for himself after the race. Not him, but like people calling him the Minister of Defense, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I
And
forgot. I completely forgot about that. He did amazing.
right, and so this is one thing I wanted to ask your opinion on. Lewis is going however fast he's going, and there was like a 9 or 10 second gap to Max or something like that. And then Lewis gets made fun of because he said, this is dangerous driving, what Perez was doing, and in order to slow Lewis down, because
Hmm.
he was just taking the middle of everything. He wasn't like going fast, this and that.
Yeah.
And while I don't think Perez was wrong, I also don't think Lewis is really wrong either. Like when cars are going that fast and you're going significantly slower, and trying to take up the whole track. I get it. Like these guys like know what's going on, but like it's also not safe to be going that much slower than the people behind you. Um,
Right. Right. You get a
you
ticket for
know,
that. People don't know. You can get a ticket
right?
for. I think it's a speeding ticket. Ironically, on the freeway if you're going too damn slow.
Yeah. And
Um.
so, well, I think what Perez did was great, and ultimately it might have won Max that race and the title because it allowed Max to be close enough at the end.
Right.
Um, but it really was unsafe as it was happening. You
Yeah.
know,
So.
um,
I mean, so Hamilton getting on the radio and saying it's unsafe is him giving that message to race control,
right,
and they have. I mean, they could do freaking Control F and find unsafe driving, and they're like, okay, like let's check these parameters, and yeah, okay, and he has to let them by, but and I mean these cars, they're going fast. I
right,
mean, probably over 100 miles an hour average where they're at, but the cars are built to the highest safety standards, and that track is
oh,
built to the highest safety standards, so you can pretty much do anything on that track and be Formula One safe.
right,
But at the same time, I mean, I get what Lewis is saying, but I mean, you're in a title battle, like you're gonna do whatever it takes, and I was completely fine with the way that
oh
uh,
yeah,
Perez was driving, because I mean he was within the boundaries of the track. Just don't go off the fucking track, and and yeah, and like don't weave, and he wasn't really weaving erratically
right,
or anything. He was doing very clever positioning of his car, and that I mean that's just how the game is played.
yeah. I
So
do like that. One of the new race directors was asked, what his first. This was while he was directing a WEC race or something like that.
yeah,
Um, what one of the biggest things or his first thought it was in being race director, and he said we got to keep it between the lines. Talking
mm,
about track limits, he said
interesting.
there's white lines on the track for a reason.
Yeah,
Um, so it will be nice to see that if that's actually enforced.
yeah. I will. The dude that's coming in, is it Parent, Eduardo Parent or something, or I believe he's French. But yeah, he was the WC race director, and he loves the sound of his voice on the radio. I will say that he makes a lot of announcements, but I haven't really he hasn't really been the head of any kind of questionable moves, at least from my perspective. So I mean, yeah, I'm kind of bummed that he's actually leaving the WEC because he did such a good job.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts about the FIA's or the race director's decision to let those cars by, and let Hamilton and Verstappen get after it on the last lap? Where do you come down on that? I don't think you and I have talked about it.
I mean, it's just wrong, even in the like sporting perspective. Like, um, I get what Massey was trying to do. You know, he's trying to give you a last, the title to end on the last lap, right? Which makes a lot of sense. You know, it's good for the sport in a way, but it's Rob. But it just really sucked in general because Lewis was on like 45 lap old tires and Max was on, fresh softs or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like Lewis is a sitting duck. And now you can make the argument that, maybe Lewis could have defended a little bit harder going into that. I forget what turn it was, but the turn that led up into the straight, maybe Lewis could go in harder. But at the same time, like, he's on old tires and maybe he doesn't have the grip to go in harder, you know? Um, Max clearly like went down the inside, had the lead going to the straight. It looked like Lewis was actually trying to pull back, but just didn't quite have enough to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think I've read a lot about it, and I don't know all the Formula One rules. I've never really read the rule book because I'm still fairly new to this and all that.
Well, the rule book is
But
fucking boring as shit.
and there's that. But it seemed to me that obviously the race director can change his mind. He can, if he thinks something's wrong in one moment, he can change it the next because of new information or whatever.
Uh-huh.
The timing of messages between the team principals and Michael Massey and the decisions he made is really suspect to me, because you have Toto gets on the radio, says something, and Massey says like, "Oh, it's a safety car" or something like that. Then he tells everyone like, "No, we're leaving the safety car out" or whatever. Then Red Bull hops on and says, "No, Michael, we have like enough time. If you let these lapped cars go, we can still get a lap in." Then he changes his mind to let not all of the cars through, but just some of the cars through. And that's really like the heart of the issue for me is that, maybe Red Bull didn't have a say in it and maybe he changed his mind on his own. It just looks really, really bad. And with everything else that happened last year, albeit some decisions may have been by the stewards, this and that, but he's the one like overseeing everything. I mean, he had to go. It was so bad. And it's the
Yeah.
fact that it's, even with the new regulations, the new cars, and the new season getting ready to start, and it's still talked about all the time, you know, um, it's just not a good look. So it made sense to me. I don't, it sounds like he was going to get another job within Formula One slash FIA. But yeah, it just, you couldn't keep him on after that, especially when people did detailed breakdowns and it was like, the car and all the marshals weren't off the track until lap 57 of a 58 lap race, and
Right.
based on the rule book,
Right.
you can't let the cars go through till that happens. So then,
Right.
all that, and it was just like basically people were breaking down the rule book with the video next to it, and it was like, if he follows these rules that are written here, this race ends under a safety car and Lewis wins. But he
Right.
decided not to. Max won. Max is a very deserving F1 world champion. He should not have won the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And yeah, that's about it.
So I'm glad you brought up the clearing the track part because I assume that came into play. Um, having been an actual lifelong race consumer, regardless of Formula One or not, this is something that happens more often in sports car racing. Things get to the end. There's a lot more cars on track. Stuff happens, and the race directors are put into tough positions where they either let a climax of a friggin' 12-hour, 6-hour, 24-hour race end under caution because of some technical things, or there's lap traffic in between, and they got to kind of bend the rules or interpret them the way they want to interpret them so that there's quote unquote a fair race. It's never entirely fair, but as
Right.
fair as possible for the win. In this situation, I'm okay with the decision Massey made for the race to finish under green, kind of skirting the rules about the track being cleared a full lap, you know, after the vehicles are off, like the retrieval vehicles, and the crew is off the track. The wave around to me is a bridge too far. What they should have just they could have just restarted the race with those two guys in between, give them blue flags, and I don't know what they would have done. I can't remember who it was, but if I'm that driver, I'm getting out of the way, and just completely getting out of the way. So, Hamilton would have had a 3-second head start or something, and Verstappen on new tires, like game on. That would have been fun to watch. The
Yeah.
way it kind of unfolded, it's just, I mean, I don't even know that. I mean, Hamilton probably just felt like a sitting duck. I almost feel like he intentionally let Verstappen pass where he did to kind of try to hope to get the toe on the next, because I mean he didn't even defend down the inside. He just like left it wide
Right.
open.
Could have
So
been.
yeah, I don't know, and it didn't work out. You can't really be too critical of his driving decision in that moment, because I mean, talk about being freaking tilted.
Right.
I'd be losing my shit, and it sucks because Hamilton had one of the best second halves to a season ever, and I mean, what was it, the drive in where he went from last to first,
Brazil.
Brazil, and then was it the Saudi GP? I mean, his drive there was insane. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he deserved to be the champion. It sucks that he lose to a guy like Max that you know is just God, man. I seriously cannot. I cannot stand him in the whole like, oh, you know let me guess. Hamilton gets the benefit of the doubt, and then just like always, and then like doesn't even address that after the fact. He's just like, I'm champion, like,
Yeah.
uh, you know,
I will
uh,
say,
eat both of
I'm
these.
sure. I'm sure Lewis and other, great drivers do it. Lewis doesn't really do it openly and outwardly, but maybe he does it behind the scenes. But it's always funny to me when a guy like Max makes comments like that, because it's like, and Bryce Young did this for Alabama, and I brought it up to someone at one point. But it's like, dude's been in Formula One since he was 17. He's 24 and has been in there for 7 years and wins. Like, if you really feel like that and you're justified in feeling like that, you're not in Formula One at 17. Like, if everything goes against you all the time, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you're not at Red Bull by the time you're 18, or whatever. Like, you're a person that's had so many things go your way that,
Mhm.
a couple little things go against you and you're just like complaining about it, right? Um, I always find people like that funny, but it does seem to be a common trait amongst like elite level athletes, and that they like find a little slights even if they aren't there at all. But yeah, I did find that one interesting. I also, the other issue I had was like, you let Max through to fight for first with Lewis, but like Carlos, who finished third, just got stuck. You know what I mean? And didn't even get the opportunity because they didn't let the cars between him and Max and Lewis go.
Right. Yeah. The wave around in my mind is inexcusable. I get it. I get the reason why the decision is made. Um, I mean, in that spot, you have to be. Yeah, I mean, the dude lost his job for it, but gave us the ending that That's going to be entertaining to relive on Drive to Survive, which we will be binge watching and doing a companion recording. So check out those episodes. We got Formula One coming up. We got George Russell joining Mercedes. Maybe Lewis will have a teammate, a competent teammate that can, you know, play the Sergio Perez role. Maybe he might steal some wins from Lewis. We'll see how he does. He looked pretty good in the one race he had raced for Mercedes in the year before last. Really excited. Ferrari looked good. They topped the testing charts at the Barcelona test for most of the weekend, but Ferrari tends to do that. But I mean, there's going to be a shakeup. There's no guarantee it's going to be Mercedes and Red
Right.
Bull again this season. But I am hyped. How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm really hyped too. I'm actually really excited for Thursday because,
Is it going to be
a lot.
televised?
I don't know if it is or not. You will definitely get some highlights, right? But,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people talk about, some of the teams potentially bringing essentially a second chassis, like a second body to everything, based off of what happened in Spain. It's also interesting that, Mercedes isn't really known for kind of just spamming fast laps at like testing, and yet they kind of did. Lewis ended up with the fastest lap. George ended up there second. I don't know if that was because they ran through all their programs and then just still were like, let's just get some fast laps in kind of thing, considering how reliable the cars were for just about everyone in Spain. But yeah, it'll be real interesting to see what happens in Bahrain in 2 days, how that testing goes. And, we'll probably be able to take a little bit more away from that. But, just kind of seeing that and then getting hyped for the race next weekend, first
Yeah.
one of the year. And interested to see if Haas actually goes with Fittipaldi. I mean, I'm sure they will for Bahrain. But I just feel like they won't for the full season, but I could see it because he's already part of the team.
I agree with you. They're going to have to find a sponsor because, yeah, I mean, you lose that freaking oligarch money train. I don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen teams in the past kind of fall by the wayside mid-season. I mean, the whole Haas thing is another crazy story on its own. We'll be able to talk about that more, but I think it's time to get out of here, Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for rejoining us again. Catch up on Drive to Survive. Drops the 11th, maybe at midnight. So it might even be the 10th at midnight, if I'm doing the math. I think that's what Netflix does. But yeah, man. And yeah, folks, let's get some PF Chang's.
Let's do it.
Toodaloo!